Okay, I was gonna look at this thing I saw on Twitter. Okay, so these are Princeton professors. So X is like the context, it's the background info. They're saying if the probability of being shot when you're black in a context is higher than the probability of being shot when you're white in the same context, that's what all else equal means. He's repeating himself. Then that would show a racially biased policing. Okay, so the paper uses this instead. Probability that this of civilian race given that they were shot and the context. So with Bayes' rule, that means, why is it repeating? Oh, I see. He switched here. This one's the repetition, but this one is not. So if you divide by this side term, then you would have the thing they're measuring in terms of other stuff. Anyway, so he's saying probability of being shot given civilian race is the probability of civilian race given being shot times the probability of being shot and divided by the probability of civilian race. Okay, yeah, that seems reasonable. Oh, so they're saying this is the thing they care about, and this is the thing they measure, and these two over here are the things that they're ignoring. But you can't ignore these. That's the point. They're saying you can ignore the top one, but not the bottom one. So you can ignore the probability of being shot in general, because you're only looking at the ones that are where you do get shot. Like, so you can't ignore the probability of what the civilian race is, because suppose the probability of the civilian race is 100% likely to be black. Then, given shot, you could predict civilian race with 100% accuracy by saying it's always black. And that would not prove racially biased policing. What you should be doing is normalizing by how many people are black or white or whatever. Something like that. So what the paper is saying is you can only ignore the probabilities of the races if they're equal. But they're not equal. Depending on the region, there are probably more white civilians than black. But it could be more black than white. It depends, like, on the city or something. They say if fewer black civilians are killed, anti-black bias cannot exist. But if fewer black civilians are killed, that could be because there are fewer black people in that city. So that's very silly. So they should show as a comparison. So if you take the black shot divided by the white shot, and then you compare that to all the blacks divided by all the whites, you can look at the ratio and see if blacks are overrepresented or underrepresented in being shot compared to their representation in the population. This seems very basic and reasonable. That is, under circumstances X, black civilians are underrepresented in police killings relative to police encounters. Yeah, so I think I understood it correctly. So they're saying this benchmark encounter rate is called benchmark, which means like representation in the population. It's hard to estimate. Oh, because it's not the population, it's how often their circumstance X is like that they met the police or something. So I think what they're talking about is how often blacks are in police incidents rather than just their representation in the population. Yeah, so they're talking about police-citizen encounter attributes. That's what X is. This is only for police-citizen encounters, not for the whole population. So that makes it harder to estimate, because just taking a census for the area and finding out who lives there will not do the trick. Okay, so their claim of the original paper is that they're avoiding the benchmark debate. But really, they're just completely ignoring it and ignoring basic math. And that seems silly. Right, so instead of trying to use a decent proxy, they just ignored it entirely. Yes. This is very similar to what I said, where imagine just everyone was a particular race. So yes, basic math error. And so they do it again with officer characteristics. Okay, so this is a good correction. And then what happened? So it's short, it's important. The paper that was published was trash and ought to be retracted. A letter to the editor was submitted showing that the study's approach can't support its claim. So the conclusion's crap. Doesn't mean the conclusion's false, it just means you can't infer from the study that the conclusion is true. The study doesn't help support the conclusion. It doesn't it shouldn't persuade anyone. So your knowledge of the conclusion is just as good as if the study didn't exist. Journal declined to publish the criticism. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is retweet this. The study claims its approach sidesteps the benchmark debate, but it doesn't. Okay, so not publishing the critique is really bad, but it says a lot just the fact that the original article got published in the first place. Like, isn't there supposed to be peer review, and isn't peer review supposed to actually work and catch things that are egregiously false? So I think, in addition to their unwillingness to listen to criticism, it also shows their peer review process does not work and does not do what it doesn't work as advertised. That's a big deal. I was already very suspicious of peer review, and I think this is an example of it just totally failing to filter out crap. So some authors published something, then changed their data set later. They were just like cheating, and the journal wouldn't do anything. So yeah, these journals are terrible. You cannot trust like prestigious academic journals. Lots of them are bad. Like, some of them are okay, but plenty of them are just utter crap. So you can't say it's a journal, it must be decent. Or it's a, you know, well-respected journal, it must be decent. That does not work. By the way, regardless what you think about racial bias for policing, I think the basic thing going on here is all the studies about it are shitty. Like, it's hard to get good answers, and the people who claim to have answers are generally fraudsters. And so you see the smart people in the critic role pointing out that that study was inadequate, it doesn't work. This is what happens with psychology in general, is they cannot actually scientifically establish the kinds of conclusions they want to. So there's a mix of people who just don't say a lot. You don't get a lot of attention when you're like, we don't know, that's my answer. And then there's the people who claim to have all the answers, but they're liars and frauds and stuff. I wanted to look at some blog comments and catch up on some of those. Alright, siblings turning out so different. Yeah, so siblings do often turn out different. Parents do not treat their children equally, even if they claim to. And small differences in behavior result in significant differences in parental treatment. This is one of the reasons psych studies making claims about genetic causes are often wrong. And I think a good intuitive way to look at this is think about social situations where you're interacting with people where slight differences in tone of voice or slight differences in wording can make the difference between people liking you or being offended or thinking you're rude or something. It's people pick up on very subtle differences in body language, tone, wording, etc. to judge you. Whether you're sincere, whether you're lying, whether you're a friend or a foe, whether you're appropriately sucking up to them or actually sniping at them. Like, those things are often judged by like slight, tiny little social signals. So if people are so attuned to minor differences in human behavior, like they pay a lot of attention to other humans and focus on small details of what they do, then it makes sense that parents would focus on a lot of attention on their children, notice small details of what their children do, and react significantly to it, just like they do with adults. Okay, so Laci Green was mentioned in a Rucka video recently. It was the parody of Charles II called the Chandler II video, which was a bit mean, but it also had some good criticism. Anyways, he brought up Laci Green, so I looked her up, and she does so much social emoting. It's like really extreme. You can see it in the still here. I do not like it, but I thought it's sort of like pop songs, except in a lot of ways it's stronger and worse than pop songs. So I thought that was notable, and I was going to do some commentary.
Hi! Okay, so you did the sex, and now you and your partner are a little bit worried that you could be pregnant. Maybe you used condoms, maybe you didn't. Maybe your period...
She's putting so much work into her facial expressions. She has a very bright lipstick color. She's putting work into having a camera angle that shows cleavage. And yeah, this still was, you could just see what the whole video is like from that. And she's doing so many cuts. Like, she keeps doing like 3-second emotes of something. And like, maybe she does retakes or something, but she just keeps cutting rather than doing like a constant just talk for a while. Like, she's already cut like 4 times in 8 seconds in. Because she's just cutting up little tiny chunks of her saying things and doing like hand gestures and stuff. I think that means she's optimizing like 2-second chunks for social vibes. Because why else would you need to retake such small sections or split them up like that and deal with that kind of editing?
Period is already late? Maybe it's not. First things first, please remain calm.
I know jump cuts, like, they're okay. Like, I don't hate them or anything. She's just doing so many. And I think they're social related. I think they help her edit for just the, like, most stunning social moments. Anyways, the please remain calm thing and, like, the loudspeaker thing is also such a meme. Oh yeah, I'm gonna turn her down.
First time I ever had sex, the condom broke. Literally the first time. Okay, rude.
She's putting so much work into, like, emphasizing her words. And, like, she repeated herself literally the first time, and there's a bed in the background. I think using a bedroom scene for this is meaningful and not just, like, random junk. I don't know if she does that in her other videos or not. It might be a green screen, I don't know yet, actually.
Fortunately, it happened right at the beginning, and we noticed it right away.
This shiny shit here looks fake to me. Like, I think that might just be a special effect added on her computer that's not actually in the room. Which also points at maybe green screen. The way the whole back is like perfectly out of focus and only she's in focus also points at green screen. And it like emphasizes her more. Because she really wants you to look at her. It reminds me of like the bokeh stuff that Apple was talking about with their new camera and their like portrait mode.
Deal, but at the time I was freaking out. Pretty sure by the next morning I had convinced myself that I was
She changes her voice tone significantly. So there's just so much stuff here. It's hard to explain though because it's so nonverbal. But if you can't see like what's going on here, if you have no intuitive sense of it, you're gonna get like fooled by people. Or if God forbid that you like it, you're extremely susceptible to memeing and like quote charismatic leaders and following stuff for social reasons rather than because of intelligence and so on. Yeah, I would not be surprised if Final Cut plugins or something could do that. She's advertising them. Oh, 1.4 million subscribers. So nice third person shit. Here she talks like a normal person and says, "Oh yes, my favorite," but then the summary is in third person. The switch is like interesting. I wonder if she's hiring someone to write this part, but then she wrote like this herself. Where she's just being social, and she's like, you know, no capital letters, and a face. Then the summary is like capital letters and everything. Okay, so I literally just randomly clicked on one of her videos. I'm gonna try another one. I don't actually care what she's talking about. The truth about herpes. Okay, so this is a different room, or at least a different shot. Oh, maybe it's the same room, actually. I'm gonna go back.
Pregnant with twins, and I was...
No, this has plants on both sides. Well... And it has a lamp on the left and the plant on the right. There's a little plant above the bed.
When I first became sexually active...
Oh, the curtains. Are the curtains?
Pregnant with twins and I was... When I first became...
Oh, the other one didn't even have a fucking window. So actually the bed looks very similar and like the lamp looks similar, but now there's a window instead of no window. Maybe they're just like repeating stuff for green screen? Like, I think she has different green screen images. Oh, look at these thumbnails. Yeah, she uses green screen. But anyways... Yeah, I think she gets like different bedroom green screens on purpose. And that the people who made those images reuse shit like the lamp and like the bed pattern, but then they change shit like adding a window. I think that's funny.
Became sexually active, one of the things that scared me the most about having sex was herpes. If only I had known then what I know now, I probably would have been quite as terrified.
Well, that's interesting that she's gonna say not to worry about herpes too much because like 70% of the adult population has herpes, something like that. It's extremely common and people are like really casual and stupid about it. They call it cold sores and try to ignore it. They also give it to fucking babies like all the time because of the kissing babies meme. Like literally when all those like relatives and grandparents and shit want to kiss your baby, there's a good chance that your baby will have herpes because of that. It's actually unsanitary and like dangerous and bad, and you should not let people kiss your baby. Okay.
Well, hi babes. I'm sorry I haven't uploaded in a little while. June was a really shitty month, so I thought, what better way to kick things back off than with herpes?
Oh, so she's gonna say herpes isn't that bad, I think? And it's not like a total disaster, but you know, it's a bit bad. Doesn't go away.
There are actually 8 different types of herpes. That includes Epstein-Barr, aka mono, BZV, aka...
She's doing like a condescending tone here, like she knows more than you and she's smart and lecturing. Like, it's really disgusting in my opinion. But she switched tones for presenting information that she just looked up on Wikipedia or whatever. And she's acting like she's sciencey or something. She's also, Jesus, look at her facial expression. Like, her eyes are giant. She's put on these glasses to try to look smart because of the theme. But then the cleavage and the glasses, like, contrast. And the lipstick in the glasses contrast. And the manicured eyebrows and so on. And the arranged hair.
Be the same, your relationships will never be the same. The truth is, herpes is not dangerous, it's completely manageable, and your life will go back to normal. Herpes stigma.
It's not dangerous. Just be promiscuous, get herpes, and ignore the inconvenience. It doesn't matter. Sex is more important. That's sort of what she's implying, but she won't actually say it. Like, it's certainly a downside. It is dangerous. There's something bad there. You need to look at, like, cost benefit. Is it worth it to do various stupid things and end up with herpes, more likely, for the cost? You shouldn't just be like, oh, herpes doesn't matter. It reminds me of what they teach in schools nowadays. They call it safe sex. It's basically, if you don't use a condom, you're horribly irresponsible and unsafe, and you'll probably die. But if you do use a condom, that is safe sex, and you no longer have to worry, and sex is good and empowering. And that's it. It's just a binary distinction like that. And you can absolutely, like, get diseases and stuff, even though you used a condom. It doesn't make it safe, it makes it safer. But they call it safe sex, not safer sex, because they are dishonest. And this idea that herpes is, quote, not dangerous seems very similar to me. Okay, well, she's annoying. I do not like her. Oh, I think those are fake eyelashes as well. Also, I think the lip piercing is notable. She's wearing like a lot of makeup to make her skin look smooth. Alright, well, that's enough of that.